Hi guys, so today we're going to talk about parallel lines cut by transversal, and we're going to do a little activity. If you were with me, you would be doing the activity, but you're not. So I'm going to do the activity, and it will kind of make sense about some of the vocabulary that is on this page and why things are the way that they are. So let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is notice how these two papers are pretty much exactly the same, right? But I'm only going to work with one for right now. So I'm going to have my one right here. And I am going to kind of label these. And I'm going to label them based on the vocabulary that we have on our sheet. So our vocabulary, we have the alternate interior angles, alternate exterior angles, consecutive interior angles, consecutive exterior angles, and corresponding angles. And the ones that we're going to talk about are the, on here, are the alternate interior angles, alternate exterior angles, and the corresponding angles. And hopefully you can see that. I know that it's kind of, there we go. There we go. And I'm going to label it on here, and then I'm going to cut them out. So I know that my alternate interior angles are, so this alternate interior angles, I'm going to label these number 1, I'm going to label these number 2, and I'm going to label these number 3. And my alternate interior angles are, they're on the alternating sides of my transversal. So this is my transversal, this is my line 1, this is my line 2. They're on alternate, so alternate interior means they're on alternate sides of the transversal, but inside my line. So this is an alternate interior, and this is an alternate interior. Then we know that the alternate exterior is the opposite. It is still on the alternating different sides of the transversal, but is on the opposite sides of my, on the outside of my line. So the alternate exterior we have here and here. We also have here, and I'm going to call this 2 star, and here, because they're a different pair of alternate exterior. Same with these ones. We got 1 star and 1 star here. These are a different pair of interior angles, alternate interior angles. Then corresponding angles are angles that are kind of in the same position. So my corresponding angles, I have a corresponding angle here, angle 3, it's corresponding to this angle. And then I have this, the 3 star, which corresponds with this 3 star. And then I have this, I'm going to say 3 box, I'm going to call it 3 box, which corresponds with this 3 box. And then last but not least, this 3 in the bubble, which corresponds to this 3 in a bubble. So we have all of those different labeled. And so now I'm going to cut them out. So hold on, I'm going to cut them out. So I'm going to pause this so you don't have to watch me do that. I'm going to have you do that so you can see how I'm cutting it out. So first I'm going to cut along the transversal. So I'm going to cut out each angle. So I'm going to cut along the transversal. Boom, 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 boom. So there's my transversal. And then I'm going to cut out each angle. So I'm going to cut this one out first. And then I'm going to cut. So I got this angle still. So these are my angles right here. This angle, this angle. This is an angle right here. This is an angle right there. So I'm going to cut those out. So I have all of these angles. Then I'm going to cut these out. This is an angle right here. This is an angle right here. This is an angle right here. And that's an angle right there. So I'm going to cut all those guys out. So I have all of these. And since these angles, even though they're on the same, so all of these have their own different sheets, but these don't, so I'm going to cut those in half so that they get their own sheet. Because they are two different angles. They have the angle, they have this angle up here and then this angle down there. Okay, so I have everything cut out. And we're going to kind of match them up and see how they're congruent. So we know that anything with matching things on it are congruent because we know that alternate interior angles are congruent, we know that alternate exterior angles are congruent, and we know that corresponding angles are congruent. And we can show that. So here, for the alternate interior angles, we have this angle, this one circle, and this one circle. So if we put them together, oh, look, they are exactly the same. Can you see that? So they match. Okay. So what about if I'm looking at my alternate exterior angles? So I have that 2 circle right here and another 2 circle right here. I match those two up. Oh, they are the same. They are congruent. Okay. Then I have my corresponding angles. So I have a 3 circle right here, and then I also have a 3 circle right here. And so if I bring that down and put those on top of each other, they are congruent. See, they're right on top of each other, and they cover each other completely. So they cover each other on top and on bottom. Even though my cutting skills aren't perfect, you can still tell that they are congruent. So that is, which one was on top? This one's on top. So that just kind of shows why all those are congruent. Something that the way that I like to remember the corresponding angles is I know that if I was to slide my angle down, so like this angle is exactly in the same position, if I was to cut this paper in half, this whole top paper in half, and slide it down, so exactly down, so if I was to take it and put it all the way down, everything on top would correspond with everything directly below it if I was to slide it down. So we can see here how all of those, if we were to cut that in half and slide it down, all of those angles would be congruent on top of each other. So that is pretty cool. Look, now I just made a whole new piece of paper with all of the angles. Hey, cool. Okay, so yeah, these are congruent, these are congruent. So hopefully that kind of helped you get a grasp on these angles over here, the alternate interior angles, alternate exterior angles, blah, 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 blah. So the other thing, so let's look back at my whole paper. Get rid of those. So this guy. The other thing about this, the other things that we talk about are the consecutive interior angles, and the consecutive exterior angles. Those are just two angles that are in a row, and those equal 180 degrees. Those always equal 180 degrees. And that's something that we know probably already because consecutive interior angles would be like inside the line. So if this is 1 and this is 2, these are both consecutive interior angles, and those would equal 180. And that makes sense because they're on a line, right? They could make a line. Meanwhile, these two are consecutive exterior angles, and they also make a line, so they're also 180 degrees. Okay. So that's some vocab for you, and hopefully that helps you keep everything straight for when we go into more depth.